Hey folks, it's Ryan Adams here from naturalweightlossmastery.com, and in this video I want to share with you the fundamental principles of plant-based weight loss and walk you through how to jumpstart your results over these next 21 days. Without any further ado, let's dive into it. Right, so the first point of note on this, listen, you're not going to change your life for good in 21 days. That's enough of a period of time to sort of get you on the road to success, I would say, with weight loss. But it's not going to be life-changing. You're not going to lose 50 pounds, so I just want to manage your expectations here. And actually, one of the most common traits amongst new weight loss hopefuls, sadly, is impatience. Okay, they want the immediate results, they want the abs in 6 weeks, and therefore that sort of thinking, as you perhaps know from experience, I know I certainly do sadly, can really take you down a bad path in terms of exercise selection, in terms of nutrition strategy adoption, because you start sort of seeking out and being more attracted to tactics, I suppose, to get you that fast result that might not be healthy, they might not be sustainable, they might be way too extreme for the long term. And so I think that's really key. So I'm a YouTuber. Listen, I've called this video what I've called it because I want to bring you guys in so I can really jab you in the head with some good information, metaphorically speaking, of course, some good info today. And you sort of, as a YouTuber, you sort of need to reel people in with good video titles and whatnot. So pardon me for playing the game, but at the same time, ironically, I just want to really start this video off with this message of patience. It's going to serve you so well, trust me, as it pertains to weight loss. That said, I do want to give you some information to sort of quick start your results here, get you up and running and seeing some killer wins early on. Absolutely I do, but I don't want you to imagine this as a quick fix. So what I'm going to do today, now we've got that out of the way, is break down 3 key components of weight loss, what I think are the 3 most important determinants early on. Now there are other factors that also contribute to weight loss, but we're not going to talk about those today. I want to stick with these 3 things. Number 1, you guessed it, nutrition. 2, you probably guessed this one too, exercise. The third though, can you guess it? It's not sleep, it's not stress management, not rest or recovery. Today, I want to talk to you about your thinking, and we'll come on to that later on. That is so important, and arguably maybe more important than the other 2 factors, the previous 2 factors. We'll come on to that shortly though. Number 1, nutrition here. Let's get this right first. What are acceptable foods on a plant-based diet? Most of the sort of plant-based community is in agreement with what a healthy plant-based diet looks like, but often I get asked, right, this particular medical doctor said I should have this many calories coming from fat, another said something different, someone online said something different, I'm not sure. What about protein? Where should I get that from? Do you have tofu? Do you have tempeh? Some people like oil, some people say no oil. So there are a few sort of mixed messages there. My stance on this is that you should stick to the following acceptable foods most of all. Number 1, whole grains. We're thinking about oats, we're thinking about brown rice, barley, buckwheat, quinoa, bulgur, and so on. Number 2, we're thinking about beans, and actually you can extend this to the whole legume group, so also lentils, peas, split peas, chickpeas, and so on. 3, fruits, of course. Whatever you like. Watermelons, apples, pears, citrus fruits as well. And finally, of course, vegetables. We want lots of dark leafy greens and also other veggies too, like zucchini, carrots, bell peppers, mushrooms. If you call them a vegetable, technically they're not, and so on. Okay, so are there any out-of-bound foods? Well, my stance on this is very clear. Oil is an absolute no-go. I argue that's most certainly not a health food, definitely not a weight loss encouraging food as well. Processed vegan foods are out of bounds for me too, of course, or certainly large amounts of them. We don't want all of those mock meats. We don't necessarily want all of these vegan burgers and sausages and Oreo cookies and vegan Ben & Jerry's and stuff. Now, comparatively, we can say, okay, some of these items better than the meat and dairy equivalents, better than meat and dairy alternatives. Yet, maybe, does that still make them optimally healthy and therefore should be part of a weight loss encouraging diet? Absolutely not in most cases. Now, it depends exactly which product we're talking about. I could still walk to my local Tesco's right now and I could actually find some fairly clean vegan burgers. They do have them in there. They have some nice sort of sweet potato pumpkin ones that are fairly clean. But I could also pick up like Beyond Beef burgers there too. So it's not that all sort of, what should we say, vegan junk equivalents are necessarily as unhealthy as one another, but generally we don't want too many of these sort of processed vegan foods. Now, that doesn't mean all processed foods, as I say, are out of bounds. There are some processed foods that are healthy and others others, excuse me. So I sometimes have like bran flakes for breakfast or shredded wheat. Maybe I have rice noodles, whole wheat pasta, whole wheat or whole grain bread. These are things that I often have as well. They're not the same as these very heavily processed junk foods. Fizzy drinks are out of bounds. Alcohol is a no-go too, of course. Now, meat and dairy, obviously, as well. Now, there's a whole category of foods that I wouldn't call out of bounds, but I would suggest that you eat them sparingly. So, not to be necessarily counted in the same bracket as the 4 food groups I mentioned earlier, the whole grains, the beans, the fruits and the veggies, but things like nuts, seeds, avocados, what else? Olives, raw cacao, sometimes tofu and tempeh and some soy derivatives. These are not to be eaten, in my assessment, as frequently as those other 4 food groups if your goal is to lose weight. Now, I'm at the stage where I actually need to have some more nuts and seeds and avocados and things like that so I don't lose any further weight, because I've lost 40 pounds over the past couple of years. I'm really happy with my progress now. I certainly don't want to lower my calorie intake anymore either, so that's important too. So why is it important to eat these more sparingly when we want to lose weight? Because they have high fat content. This is really, really key. Fat is a really essential part of any balanced diet, so we do need some fats coming from plant foods. That's absolutely essential. But that's why I say eat sparingly. Treat them almost like a garnish or really a supplement to those main 4 food groups is what I would suggest. Why is this fat issue so important? Well, fat yields more calories than carbohydrates and protein. So number 1, fat isn't as slimming from a calorie lens. Now, all of weight loss isn't just about calories, so that's important to note, but it is an indicator. And second of all, the way that fats are processed in the body doesn't seem to be as effective for slimming as carbohydrates. So predominantly we want those carb-rich foods. That's going to be really essential as it pertains to weight loss, contrary to mainstream health and weight loss belief. I don't have time to sort of unpack all that doctrine right here, right now. It's likely if you're stumbling across this video, you've sort of realised this for yourself anyway, and you're already sort of somewhat aligned with me on this. Dressings, I like ketchup, mustard, lemon and lime juice, tahini I sometimes use. Big caveat on tahini, because it's actually, as many of you know, made from sesame seed, and they would of course go in, sesame seeds would of course go into the eat sparingly list, but certainly a couple of teaspoons rather of tahini going into your salad dressings and whatnot, it's going to be fine for most of us. Vinaigrette, hot sauce, barbecue sauce, I suppose it depends what you're cooking, herbs and spices, really important to make your food taste good, guys. Now, when I talk about things like ketchup and barbecue sauce, I'm often met with, Ryan, is that healthy? Well, my answer to that is, no, it's not quote-unquote Puritan, no, it's not perfect, is it? There is salt in there. There is often lots of sugar and maybe some other additives and whatnot in there. So no, they're not optimally healthy. But a bit of a squirt of ketchup, let's say, on your potatoes that make you enjoy the food and therefore continue eating those potatoes. I'd much rather you do that than have like a meat and dairy rich diet or loads of processed foods for that matter, and never have a chance to see massive weight loss success. So yeah, sometimes it's about making these sacrifices. Not that a dollop of ketchup is really a massive sacrifice, but to stay on track and make our food taste amazing. That's my sort of, I would say, more, it's really sort of arrogant to call your own advice pragmatic, but my pragmatic and sort of middle of the road advice on this, to actually make your food taste good. Take that hit. Meal frequency is, again, right, 5 small meals a day, 3 big meals, intermittent fasting, what should I do? Listen, here's my sort of basic battle cry on this. You've heard this from me before if you're a long-term subscriber. It seems to be that weight loss is more about eating the right sorts of foods than things like the timing or frequency of your meals. So my philosophy on this is, let's get what you're eating right first. Let's tick that metaphorical box. Wow, I'm really messing this up. Sorry guys, I'm butchering that one. Let's tick this metaphorical box first. Wasn't that hard, was it? And then maybe let's turn our attention to things like meal timing and frequency later down the line, because it's my assessment that whilst they can make a small difference, they are much more background, secondary factors as it pertains to weight loss. So what I like to do is 3 large meals a day, and sometimes, although frankly guys, not often right now, I'll have an afternoon snack. Something like fruit or a slice of whole wheat toast with some avocado. Love that, but mostly I'm just having 3 main meals a day, okay? Now, one piece of advice on this is fit it around your schedule. Where so many people go wrong with weight loss is they don't do what I call lifestyle hacking. They don't sit and think about exercise and nutrition, how they're going to factor it into their routine, and therefore they get these sorts of conflicts of interest, let's say. Weight loss can therefore be a little bit disruptive to them, and it can really sort of overlap and cross the boundary into their personal and professional lives, and therefore it doesn't really have that much longevity. So I think as a rule of thumb, it's really wise to think about what you can actually stick to, what you can actually adhere to. And so for me, with my schedule and also what I actually enjoy doing, I enjoy eating this way. 3 meals a day and occasionally one afternoon snack works perfectly, not only in terms of weight management optimization, I lost my 40 pounds eating exactly with this philosophy, but also in terms of my lifestyle and whatnot, and what I actually enjoy doing. It all fits around my working routine and my personal life, social life and whatnot really, really well. So I'm really happy with that, and that would be my suggestion to you. Consider your lifestyle. Healthy substitutions. This was really important to me when I'm getting started. Listen, if we're just transitioning from a diet philosophy that's completely different to this plant-based approach, it's going to be tough. I would suggest to you guys that you try and switch some of your favourite meals of the past for healthy plant-based options. So, for example, if you loved your ice cream in the past, I know I certainly did, try out some frozen banana ice cream, often commonly referred to as nice cream. If you often enjoyed having dessert after your evening meal, have a big fruit salad. So we're not just destroying these old habits of the past, but we're just changing them to healthier options. It's a lot easier when we're just getting started. Down the line, you don't necessarily need to do this as your taste buds change, as you change your relationship with food, as you break bad habits and you sort of get on top of your cravings. You can really change these things and really restructure in a new way. But certainly when you're just getting started, making healthy switches and whatnot, it's important. You know, switch out those junk food cookies of the past to clean oatmeal and raisin cookies. There's a wealth of information, plenty of resources you can find for plant-based recipes online. I've got a bunch in my 2 cookbooks and in Natural Foods, The Only Diet You Need, and on my channel here. You can check out my What I Eat in a Day videos for more inspiration on that. Let's finish on this, let's close this nutrition chapter rather on water consumption, because this is really important. It seems to be that most health institutions advise that the average adult shoot for around 2 litres of water per day. That's just a rule of thumb, of course. It depends on a multitude of factors. I would say that's a good rule of thumb to have. One thing, though, I would suggest to you guys, just to reinforce the importance of staying hydrated, which we know anyway, it's sort of implied, I shouldn't have to shout that from the rooftops too loudly, but I really stress it with a plant-based approach because of the increased fibre intake that is likely to, you're likely to incur by eating lots of plant foods. It's likely to skyrocket your fibre intake, of course, depends on what you're eating in the past, and to get fibre through your digestive system successfully, we need extra water to do that, so that's really key. Listen, let's talk about exercise too here. I'm often asked, because there's many different camps on the exercise question, I'm often asked, right, how much do I actually need to do? How much does it actually play a role when it comes to weight loss? You've got a group that really think on the sort of, on one side of things rather, that it is as important as nutrition when it comes to weight loss. Then you sort of get people in denial that exercise even makes any significant difference. And actually there's a surprising amount of people in the medical community that argue that it makes no substantial impact on health and weight loss whatsoever. And I would say that is taking it ever so slightly too far. As with many things in life, the truth is often found in the middle ground on these issues. Interestingly, physical inactivity ranks at number 5 in terms of risk factors for death in the US, and actually even lower down on the list globally. So, I mean, if you master those other risk factors such as poor dietary choices, quitting smoking, getting rid of alcohol in your diet, lowering your cholesterol and whatnot, it's of course worth then turning your attention to physical activity. But I give you this information just as an illustrating factor, or an illustration rather, that it isn't as important as many of those other factors when it comes to overall, health and wellness and longevity and whatnot. So there's a very serious debate to be had about the role of exercise, but one sort of myth that I want to dispel is it is as important as the likes of nutrition when it comes to our well-being. I think that's pretty clear according to the scientific literature. And actually here's a great little quote actually to sort of sum up part of my view on this from the esteemed Dr. Neil Bernard of PCRM. This is in his book, Dr. Neil Bernard's Program for Reversing Diabetes. Do not rely on exercise alone for weight loss. A healthful diet can easily trim 300 to 400 calories off your daily menu. But burning that many calories through exercise means walking or running 3 or 4 miles a day. Exercise is important, but it cannot begin to take the place of diet changes. So our energy balance quite clearly is mostly determined by what we eat. So let's get that right first. Then, let's turn our attention to exercise. Yeah, sure, I do sign up, I do prescribe to that basic sentiment. You can't outrun a bad diet. I mean, It is feasible, it is possible, not many people are going to successfully do that. So that said, I do think that if you can squeeze in at least a minimum of 2 to 3 hours a week of exercise, even if it's light exercise at first, I think that's going to hugely, in many cases, aid your efforts. Now, it depends what else you're doing, if you're nailing your nutrition right and whatnot, but I think that's really going to help. So let's say 5 times 30-minute workouts a week, 5 30-minute workouts a week, I think that's an incredible start, okay? Now listen, I said I was going to finish here on the final factor, which is thinking. Getting your mind right as it pertains to weight loss. Why is this so key? Because I find that the aforementioned factors, nutrition and exercise, you can't really execute as well on those things or as consistently on those things if your mentality isn't right. So we're not going to be as successful with weight loss if we don't get this right, quite obvious. Actions follow thoughts is the first thing I would say. So think of your mind really like a filter for your actions. Okay, it's really going to determine your decision making. It's really going to affect your habits, your behavior overall. So we've really got to monitor the thoughts and beliefs that are popping off in our head thousands of times a day. That's really key. One sort of bit of advice I have on starting to manage your mind a bit better is not thinking about weight loss as a short-term game, which, as you'll recall, I alluded to quite clearly at the start here. So many people are really, really impatient. They want the immediate results. And despite the title of this video, I really think it's important to play a long-term game. One of my big mistakes, and I made many, one of my big mistakes with weight loss in the past is I was constantly thinking, what am I going to look like in 6 weeks? Can I get myself the shredded abs for the summer vacation? And that was my mindset, such a toxic mindset, because I was never playing a long-term game. And frankly, a little saying that I've shared many times on this channel up to this stage is most people overestimate how much weight they can lose in 1 month, but underestimate how much weight they can lose in a year. Everyone's thinking, they've got the blinkers on, they're only thinking about a month or 2 months' time, 8 weeks' time. Let's get in that dress for so-and-so's wedding. Let's look like this for this vacation. Let's get in this shape for summer. And it's just like, no, guys, you've got to be playing a long-term game. Why is this so important? Because it gives you longevity, it changes your thoughts, and you start seeking out more sustainable strategies. I think that's really key. And you start to then develop a healthier relationship with your body, with food, with exercise, and so on. You see why the mind's so important? Another big thing for getting control of your mind is getting used, easier said than done, to picking purpose over pleasure. Okay, this gets easier in time. It's really hard at first to say yes to the right stuff, no to the wrong stuff. But in time, you can sort of, I believe, with confidence, get to the point where I feel that I'm at now, where I've raised my baseline discipline to a level where I actually get a bit of an icky, sort of sick feeling. I actually feel a little bit ill and very guilty when I drift off too much into sort of leisure and pleasure-seeking activities. Whether that's watching Netflix when I know I could be out for a run or working out, whether that's picking the junk food instead of the healthy food, which admittedly those occasions are few and far between now, but I'm still human, I'm still imperfect. It most certainly happens from time to time. And so I actually now can never go too far off track because I feel really sick and a bit guilty for doing it. And I actually now love picking my purpose. I love shooting forward on my path, on my mission, and that has become so strengthened over time with my actions and my behavior and my thinking. It's all sort of reinforced and almost bolstered my identity in time, whereby now it's like it's second nature. I love doing that. I love making the right choices, picking the healthy food, okay? Not having too much leisure time, not engaging in pleasure-seeking activity. I love doing that, and I feel too bad when I stray in the opposite direction. And you might not have that sort of dynamic in your mind right now, but I really promise you guys, I just want to show you the light at the end of the tunnel. It absolutely can come, but you got to be tough and you got to be consistent to actually get to that point. But yeah, get used to picking purpose over pleasure. Be cool with that. Know why you're doing this, why you want to lose weight, why you want to fix your health destiny right now, why you want to take charge of your health destiny right now. Be very clear on what this is going to do for you. That's really going to help you shoot forward here with success. So you've got to fix your relationship with food as well. And actually on that note, I've just dropped my free Coping with Cravings worksheet at naturalweightlossmastery.com. So if you want to work on getting control of your cravings, which I know is an issue that plagues so many weight loss hopefuls, check out that that worksheet where I share my 3D formula for conquering cravings. Really good place to start. So that's it, folks. Hope this information has served you really, really well today. I think that's everything I want to cover here to get you up and running, to get you started. Don't want to throw too much info at you. I hope this was just the right amount for you to digest and start taking action here going forward. Listen, if you do want to guarantee and accelerate your results over these next 3 weeks, over these next 21 days, and then beyond that, a great place to start is my 21-day plant-based accelerator program, which is basically a meal plan that tells you exactly what to eat, gives you the recipes, grocery shopping tips, troubleshooting tips if the plan maybe isn't working for you in terms of maybe you only lost 1 week in the first week and you'd like to speed things up. There's all sorts of troubleshooting tips I share there. So it's sort of a done-for-you meal plan that you can just go and execute on. If you want access to that to really help you in these first 3 weeks, head over to naturalweightlossmastery.com. Thanks for your time as always, guys. Smash a like on this video if you found it valuable. Subscribe if you're just running into my content for the first time. See you in the next one. All the best.